What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since '03 and eager to see this team getting back to playing winning basketball. In today's video, we'll be going over the top 5 questions that Pistons fans have that will be answered in the upcoming season. We will be going in order from most important to slightly less important. I say that because all of these questions are very important and they all will be answered in this upcoming season. So to kick things off, for the most important question of them all that will get answered this season is going to be, how will Cade Cunningham look with more space around him? It is absolutely no secret that over the course of Cade's career so far with the Pistons, there has been a serious lack of shooting on the floor around him. Of course, last season, the opening night starting lineup consisted of himself with Killian Hayes, who was a non-shooter, Asar Thompson, who was a non-shooter, Isaiah Stewart, who did make strides in shooting, but was a standstill set shooter type of player, and then Jalen Duren, who was a non-shooter. Whether you like it or not, that is not how modern basketball is played nowadays, and it led to Cade Cunningham often finding himself in situations where when he was penetrating, getting to the paint, getting to his spots, he saw a lot of help defense. So with the offseason additions of Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, and Tobias Harris, we can be pretty certain that we will be able to see Cade Cunningham operate in more space, especially considering that Simone Fontecchio will be returning and other small additions throughout the offseason. We will definitely see more shooting around Cade than what we have ever seen. It will be very interesting to see what Cade does with this newfound space and to be able to see if his efficiency goes up, if he's able to score more, if it leads to him getting to the free throw line more. Just generally speaking, it'll be very interesting to see, and we'll have a pretty good idea on how that looks relatively quick after the season starts, because most of the lineups that are being predicted to be used this upcoming year definitely consist of more shooting than what we've seen last year. The only way that it would be even equal to or worse than last year is if for whatever reason they decided to trot out like a lineup of Cade, Asar, Ron Holland, Jalen Duren, and somebody else, but that's not going to happen. So we'll definitely see Cade with space and have a good idea on how that looks. So the second question I think a lot of fans are curious about is, how big of a problem was Monty Williams really? Now, this one I don't want to get too deep into the weeds about because let bygones be bygones. But generally speaking, Monty Williams had a pretty poor approval rating amongst fans, which shouldn't be any bit of surprise considering that the Pistons won a franchise worst of all time, 14 games last year. During his first season, a lot of fans questioned his rotations. A lot of fans questioned if he had the locker room. A lot of fans questioned a lot of things regarding Monty Williams' coaching. And I think we will know pretty quick, not only from the results on the floor, but press conferences as well, how big of an impact did Monty Williams have on this team's lack of success last year? So the third question that I do want to talk about also is about Cade, but it involves Ivy. And that is, can Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey share the backcourt together? This is a question that Pistons fans have been slightly skeptical of, maybe some more than others, ever since Jaden Ivey was drafted onto this team in 2022. A lot of people feel like they might be not the perfect fit as a backcourt duo. A lot of people believe that it can work. A lot of it, I think, will come down to their individual development. I think that both of them have a high enough ceiling and amount of talent as basketball players that even if it's not the hypothetical best fit, there could be a real world where both of them turn into such studs that it doesn't matter how well they fit together because it will be successful regardless. Myself personally, I think that they can fit together, and I think that this year will show it. I see a world where they can kind of trade possessions in a way. Other times where Cade can kind of do his going to work, get to the mid-range, draw in defense, kick out to Ivy. Ivy uses his first step to blow past a dude and get an easy bucket for himself, or even just spot up and shoot for one of another. Of course, Jaden Ivey is like a career 34% three-point shooter. Cade, 35% last year. Both of them are capable of knocking down shots. So I think that it can work, but what I do know is that there's a very high chance that we have a better idea on how well they can mesh together this upcoming season than anything we've seen in the past from them two together, because in Ivy's rookie year, Cade was hurt for the majority of it, and last year, Ivy's role was all over the place, and it just really didn't get a good look into what we could see them do together. So the fourth question a lot of Pistons fans have is, how will Jalen Duren's defense develop? Now, this is a tricky one because I'm a little bit different than probably the majority of the fan base right now, where I'm not just absolutely ready to give up on 20-year-old Jalen Duren for that exact reason. He's 20 years old. So let's say hypothetically, the answer to this question is he's not developing at the optimal rate as a rim defender. I wouldn't actually be that upset or ready to move on from him or anything like that, because the dude is 20 years old. If it takes him to be 22 or 23 to be a great rim defender, that's not anything out of the ordinary. So I won't be ready to throw him out to the curb just because he has maybe not advanced a whole lot this offseason as a defender. But we will be able to see what direction it's heading in, and I think it's a question that a lot of Pistons fans are incredibly curious about. So the fifth question that I think we will definitely have an answer to is Simone Fontecchio the Simone Fontecchio that we saw for the 16 games with him in a Pistons jersey last year. Now, Simone, of course, had a very, very out of the ordinary path to the NBA. He didn't start playing the NBA until he was 26 or 27 years old, which is extremely not normal. Most NBA players are rookies by the time they're 22. He spent the entire first half of his career in Europe playing there. So by the time he came to the NBA, he's only been here for 2 seasons now. The first one was with the Jazz, where he got very spotty minutes. Towards the first half of last year, he was with the Jazz, where he was playing pretty well. And then he got moved to the Pistons. And for the 16 games that he played with the Pistons, he was a 15 point per game, high efficiency, good all-around starting caliber player. So I think that we'll have an answer this season on, is that version of Simone Fontecchio that we saw for 16 games last year a version of Simone Fontecchio that is sustainable and can be built upon? Because I definitely buy it. I think that in those 16 games, he convinced me and won me over, and I already thought pretty highly of him before the Pistons traded for him. But there's no questioning that he definitely does need to prove it for a little bit longer, that he is a real starting caliber NBA player for not only other Pistons fans, but the broader NBA community and NBA fan base and NBA executives as a whole to actually believe in that. So I definitely buy it, but I think that we'll have an answer pretty quick on if the version of what we saw of him last year is sustainable or not. So let me know what you guys are looking forward to having answered this upcoming season. There's definitely going to be a lot of things that happen very quickly, and I think that there's going to be a lot of answers to a lot of the questions that Pistons fans have been pondering this offseason coming up really fast. So let me know what is top of mind for you all, and we'll catch up soon.